Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Wow, it is boiling in Newcastle right now. Hope you guys have all enjoyed the weekend. It is Monday, it is back to work for many. I am popping out from work to do this video for you guys and get a little bit of sun on my face instead of being sat in the office. Hope you've had a great weekend. England back on tomorrow night. Obviously have been very underwhelming so far this Euros tournament. It's been an amazing tournament, except when you watch England. So, you know, fingers crossed, maybe some of the criticism that's been coming out for the first two games, Gareth Southgate might step it up for this third group game and see us into the next stage. You know, who knows? Maybe we'll even see Anthony Gordon. I mean, it's not just the Newcastle fans who are calling out for him. It pretty much seems that everyone is calling out for Gordon, except for Southgate, obviously. So we'll wait and see what happens. But in the world of Newcastle United, it was a very busy weekend with a whole host of transfer news coming out. But waking up this morning, there is a new headline, and it's all to do with Bruno G. That is right, the main man, Bruno. It's said that his £100 million release clause that has been in a hell of a lot of conversation going at this summer window, obviously signed his new deal. His £100 million release clause is set to end at 11:59 tonight. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But firstly, I did want to quickly touch on some of the Dominic Calvert-Lewin stuff, as the reported fee that Everton are after for the player, I mean, in my eyes, is absolutely nuts. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, if you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and hit subscribe. As I've mentioned in the last few videos, we are getting closer and closer to 50,000 subscribers. And you guys are clicking that button. So thank you. It helps the channel. Gets me that little bit closer to that 50,000, as I mentioned already, and just helps promote the channel that little bit further. So, as I've mentioned, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I've said a few times on my thoughts of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and almost to the point where he's clearly a player I've been interested in. I mean, Newcastle have been linked with him, you know, ever since pretty much Eddie Howe came in as manager. He kind of fits the mould of, like, English player that Eddie Howe tries to go down, and look, has done us very well so far. I mean, I'm saying that. I mean, he brought Bruno in. He's not very English. But in terms of, like, a Gordon, a Barnes, Nick Pope in goal, Dan Burn coming in, like, it's clear that Eddie Howe, he likes to have quite a strong English core. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was a man who was close to, he did represent England, I think 10 or so times. He was close to doing it in a major tournament at one stage. And since then, since that kind of Ancelotti season where he scored loads of goals, has never really been quite the same. In terms of the injury stuff, it's kind of fair to say that he did play, you know, 30-plus games for Everton last season, so maybe that is quite a bigger deal as previous, but it's fair to say, I think, that he hasn't been quite on the same form as he had previously. But I think even with that, you take it with a pinch of salt, because he's not going to be number one. He's not coming in as the new number 9. He's going to come in as the man but behind Isak. And I think for me, if we can get him on a decent fee, and we can keep Wilson as well, and just have all of them, and just play Isak all the time, it really doesn't seem like that's the way Newcastle are heading. It looks very much like Wilson is heading for the exit. And I know that people have discussed this previously as to whether, you know, Wilson was a good thing to keep or let go. In my eyes, it was, if we do let Wilson go, you've got to pay the big money and have, like, if we're going to keep Wilson, Isak and Wilson, it's then, well, you know what, let's go and get a young striker. You know, let's have Isak number 1, Wilson is a very capable number 2 if he's fit, and if he's not, we've got a young player to come and play in behind. If Newcastle don't want the young player, they want the Calvert-Lewin, well, I guess that's fine. You know, if you can get him on a decent fee, and we've got 3 strikers, again, because Wilson's injured, Calvert-Lewin's injured, Isak's had injury issues. If the decision is to let Wilson go, I'm swearing at you now, and bring Calvert-Lewin in only, or we're not just back to square one, or we're not just back to having Isak and then another potentially injury-prone striker with not an additional backup. What happens if Calvert-Lewin does get injured, and then we don't have the backup behind Isak that we need? So yeah, getting him in on a decent fee, I don't mind. Making this decision to sell Wilson and bring in a different injury-prone striker, I think, is slightly odd to me. And if you add to that, the rumoured fee that Everton are after is around 30 to 35 million. Wow, you know? And I said this already, I've said this in videos building up to this, was when I'm talking about it, I'm like, yeah, like 10, 15 million. They're like, that's a really good deal. As soon as you're hitting like 30, 35, we're having to set. And look, Wilson is 5 years older than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So it isn't a like for like. We are bringing in it will be a 27-year-old who really is like kind of prime age for football. I wouldn't say he's in his prime career form, but he is prime for his age. That makes sense. If we sell Wilson for 25 and buy Calvert-Lewin, if we sell Wilson for 20 million and we buy Calvert-Lewin for 25 and it's only 5 million more to bring in a 5-year younger player, like, if you want to get into all of that, that's fine as well. But I can't see us really getting anything for Wilson because of his injuries, because he hasn't got long left on his contract. I think Wilson will leave for 5, 10 million. And then we'll go and pay 40, 35, 40 for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It just kind of is kind of blowing my mind at the minute. So let me know your thoughts on that update with regard to that. Do you think we should just keep all 3 of them? Do you think if Wilson is going to go, we need to, like, if we're going to spend that money, I'd rather go and do it on, a younger player who hasn't had the previous injury issues, Let me know your thoughts on all that. I've talked for longer than I'd planned to there on that situation. So let me know your thoughts down below. And now we'll get on to the main man, Mr. Bruno G. It's fair to say there has been links with Bruno leaving Newcastle this summer window, especially with regards to PSR, FFP, which I actively try not to talk about at the moment in these videos now because everyone's so fed up of it. But it's clear that Newcastle are looking to offload players. And in fairness, even go back to what Darren Eales said, player trading. Players will come, players will go, players will move around, and it's all part of this new idea that if we sell someone for 40, we don't have like 40 to spend, we have 40 times 5 over the 5 years. That's 200 million that you can spend. So what you do is you only keep them for 3 of those 5 years, and then you sell them off so you get some of the money back. And it's all basically what Chelsea and Man City are doing, or Man City especially, selling young players, bringing new ones in, then you sell them before they go. Like you look at like a Cancelo, I guess, who they brought in and sold them off for a similar fee. It's all very all over the shop. But I think Newcastle are going to get into that. And I think players, like you talk about, like a Wilson leaving before his contract ends. You talk about Trippier getting linked away, Almiron getting linked away. We'll bring players in, we'll sell other players. Bruno was one of those players, and partly because he's one of our most valued assets at a very high fee. And when Bruno signed his new deal, I think everyone was quite excited because obviously we want Bruno to dedicate his future to the club. And in the very worst case scenario, if he signed a new deal, at least it puts his value up, so he's not going to just walk away on a free in a few years' time. Instead it's like a new 5-year deal, keep him forever. Except there was a little clause in there that no one was quite too happy with, and it was that Bruno's contract actually contained a £100 million release clause, which obviously sent people a little bit wild as to what exactly is going to happen next. But then it was revealed that clause did not last forever. That is not a clause that remains in Bruno's contract for the next 5 years. Instead, it was till the end of June. Well, it's reported this morning through Fabrizio Romano and a few other outlets that clause actually ends tonight at 11:59. So I really hope in making this video, I am correct in thinking that we have rode the wave, and that there is no bids, and that Bruno will be staying this summer window. I really hope that there isn't news later on 11 o'clock tonight that some club has gone ahead and chucked their bid in for 100 million that Newcastle have to accept. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that because the release clause ends. I mean, I think the thing is that in the terms of our eyes and the terms of Newcastle owners, is that we would be helpless should a team come in and offer that 100 million. It's not to say that Bruno wouldn't turn around and go, well, no, I don't want to go, by the way, so I'm not going to accept it regardless, And with some of the videos that have come out with Bruno, with his kids, with his new house, the hope is that he is happy here. And even should the bid have come in, but then again, if it is the likes of a Barcelona or a Real Madrid, as much as he loves Newcastle, he's going to be looking over there. And a Newcastle side who hasn't got European football either this season. So yes, I'm still crossing my fingers and knocking on wood in the hope that nothing does happen in the next few hours. But I think if we can ride this out till the end of the day, it just gives Newcastle the power back that we don't have to accept, and we don't have to let our arguably best player go. As they say, we don't win without Bruno. Look at the stats. When Bruno doesn't play, we don't win. And look, 100 million is a lot of money. Times by 500 million. But certain players like Bruno are, you know, I was going to say 1 in 100, could be more, 1 in 1,000 players that you can get in, that can bed into a team so quickly and take the game by the scruff of the neck, you know, win games for us. You know, you could argue that Isak is also a fantastic talent, and where we want to go, we want to be moving players on, like an Almiron, like a whoever. You don't want to be selling the best players. And if we can ride this wave and keep Bruno this summer, I think that is massive. Now, look, it's not to say that a club can't still come in and offer. Well, I think I saw a few jokes online today. It was like, right, as soon as it's 12 o'clock tonight, the new minimum fee is 400 million. You know, it's not to say that a club can't come in and offer 150, and Newcastle go, God, that's a lot of money. Like, what do we do? But it puts us back in charge. It's not leaving it to just Bruno, whether he wants it or not. It's up to Newcastle and whether they think it's right or wrong. And, you know, the worry is, again, with FFP and everything else, is that they might, you know. But I do also think that if a club was interested, they would have come in when they could have done it at 100. It would be strange for a team to wait 2 days till after the window's ended and then come in and offer 180 million. Why would they not have done it as early? I know teams like Arsenal, teams like Man City have been heavily linked and been linked to this release clause. As I've mentioned, they could be having board meetings right now discussing whether they want to put that bid in before the day ends, which we're very much hoping that they don't. But then after that, if they want him, they have to really pay up for him. You know, more than 100 million. You know, some of the, like as I say, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's worth 40. Christ, Bruno must be worth 400 million. So yes, that is the news on Bruno. As I've mentioned, I think Newcastle will have to let players go this window. I think it's no secret that players will be leaving, but I think it's huge to keep a player like Bruno, player like Isak. I think to keep them nailed down, especially in a season where we didn't go and get European football. Now, don't get me wrong, next season, the season after, you know, if we don't get top 4, I think if we don't get at least top 6 and getting some European football, they both seem to be loving life and they seem very happy. But unlike them, unlike us, who will be supporting Newcastle till the day, you know, till the day I pass away, till the day I die, I'll be here. I'll if I have to, I'll sit it out. I'll sit out the next 5 years. I'll sit out the next 10 years. We will get there. We will do it. We will be top 4 again. We will hopefully win a trophy before I pop me clogs as well. Like, they won't be. Their careers are way shorter than that. And if we aren't getting Europe, if we aren't doing this, that's when it gets worrying for those kind of players. So keeping them on lock and key till the end of this summer. Have a good season, get back into Europe, tell them what we're going to do. Let's go and do it. Let's go and get back to the final of the Carabao Cup. Let's go and prove to these players that we are heading in the right direction. That just allows us to, like, prompt them that little bit longer. So let me know your thoughts on Bruno down in the comments below. Thoughts on that, thoughts about players leaving, thoughts about Isak as well in the same conversation. Fingers crossed, as I've said already, 12 o'clock tonight. The clock chimes 12. And it's back into our ball court again. And, you know, if we are going to go, make sure it's for a very hefty fee. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe on the channel. Loads of videos coming out right now. Loads to talk about. England, Newcastle, everything else. So don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.